Here come the Kinocast hosts doing another episode. I forgot to delete the bot from this episode recording. I'll do that right now. I did not do that before, but I'll do that now. I do not
You
mute
should
the bot.
do that. You should do that. You should do that now.
Beautiful. I told Ruben that I would have a steady fixed camera angle today, but I actually lied. In the spirit of Speed Racer, I'm going to continuously move my camera across the screen so I look like the editing in this film at all times.
Can you do a couple smash zooms?
Someone stop
Yeah.
him! All right.
Just the whole time.
Nice. Yeah.
Jesus, kid, I've been thrown like that in years. All right, let's just start with this week's film is Speed Racer, if you haven't guessed already.
Yes.
Directed by the Wachowski siblings, released in 2008, and it is a very good movie. And if you do not like it,
today is my birthday.
It is also
today. Yes,
birthday.
That's correct.
I
it is my birthday. So Ruben let me pick the movie today, and I just instantly, I didn't have to think. It's Speed Racer. We're doing a Speed Racer episode.
I get to pick the movie.
This is my like happy place comfort film.
Oh, I can totally see that.
My insane galaxy brain take is this may be my favorite movie of all time. Which is not to say I think it's the best movie of all time. This is just a purely subjective. I love watching this film potentially more than any other movie.
Yeah.
So I always have I always have it, and there's nostalgia for it. I saw it in high school, but it's like that never, like, every time I watch it, I still love it. Like, I find new things to love about this film.
I watched, this is like the third time I watched it. So basically, or I could have watched it a lot, but first time I watched it was a kid. I got this DVD with sadly a lot of scratches on there now. You can't see through camera, but watched it. I loved it. As a kid, I got a lot of toys. I got the Mach 5, the Racer X car, the truck, all the rhythm set.
I had so many Hot Wheels of the Speed Racer cars. I also had a few. I had a few of the Lego sets as well.
Oh, those existed too. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't have the Legos anymore, and I desperately want to try and buy them again on eBay or something.
So,
we'd go with Bricklink, but sorry, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
A few years ago, a year ago, I bought a set of random Transformers and Power Rangers, and this Speed Racer figure came with it.
Oh, nice.
It's got a removable helmet.
Nice.
It's from the 2008 film. It doesn't look like Emily Hirsch, but I'll take it.
Nice.
I'll take it. And recently, I bought the Blu-ray for €3, and it needed an upgrade, and it's great. This movie deserves a 4K UHD.
It needs a 4K remaster so bad. It would look wonderful in 4K.
Yeah.
So I had never seen this movie until 2 days ago.
Yes.
I've enjoyed what I've seen from the Wachowski sisters, but like what I've seen from them is the first two Matrix movies, and then a bit of Sense8, which I plan to watch more of at some point. But people had always gone on about how good Speed Racer was, and I really didn't have any opinion of it because I didn't have a huge connection with the original show. I did grow up with some classic like Japanese shows like Astro Boy and Kimber the White Lion. That shit was for me.
Kimber.
But Speed Racer, what?
Kimber the White Lion.
Kimber the White Lion is fucking awesome. He has the best theme song ever. Even good, like Speed Racer's theme song, good. Kimber the White Lion's theme song, actually fucking primo.
You,
There's
you get
nothing.
every single song in existence, and above that is Kimber the White Lion.
The only time I've ever heard anyone talk about Kimball the White Lion, which is already a thing I can count on one hand, is people talking about it in reference to The Lion King, whether The Lion King did or didn't rip it off, which it didn't.
This is
true,
true, but
that's
it's good on its
the
own as
only
well.
time I've ever heard anyone. I've never heard anyone actually talking about, like, yeah, I used to watch Kimball the White Lion all the time. I didn't even know it was a show. I thought it was a movie.
It's fucking awesome. It is a movie as well. But that's anyway.
Okay.
I'll force us to do a Kimber special at some point.
For
But
our
Speed
long-
Racer, I never had the. It just was never really on my radar.
Yeah.
So I
It's
watched
not
this
mine
for the
either.
first time. Yeah. So I watched this for the first time with a friend who had watched Speed Racer before, and I fucking loved it. Sometimes I watch movies with this person where I kind of get distracted and like do some painting or something else. My attention was 100% on this film.
Yeah, it draws you in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like
So-
it is 2 hours and 15 minutes, which is a decent length for a movie. You would kind of think a
for
movie
a
like this
film-
is shorter, but it
yeah,
is
for a film like
engaging
this,
the
I'm like-
entire time.
Yeah, for a film like this, I'm like, oh Christ, this ain't gonna grab my attention, but it did. I watched this on Tuesday,
did.
and for the whole week, I've been watching clips of this film. I might as well just would have watched it for a second time. You know, it's just that.
Yeah,
God.
yeah. I could sit down and watch this once a week for the rest of my life, to be completely honest. And it's like, especially like after I watched it, in high school, when I was like 13, 14, all the time, I would have like on speed dial, basically the like YouTube clips
Speed.
of the races, and I would just watch them just all the time because the race scenes are incredible.
Cool beans.
What
is
cool beans?
Everyone's favorite racing sequence in the film?
At Casa Cristo. It's tough because the Grand Prix is really good too, but I think Casa Cristo takes it for me.
I think it's definitely the final one for me. Just like the last stretch of the whole. The last stretch. So basically, it intertwining with other clips from previous seconds in the film. It's great editing. The music helps. It's actually the very emotional moment. And then when he crosses that finish line and everything turns red and white, that is just
when it just
awesome.
Envelops the screen, and then as the car falls to the ground, it all kind of flattens out, and it's just because it's it's one of these movies where the hero is going to win in the end. So it's all about the execution of how they do it, and they pull it off perfectly. It's very earned. It's very emotional. You care by the end of it. You care.
I just like that scene out, just like how it ends and everything just swells down. The car stops. You hear the sounds
just
of
complete silence, and then
oh, great.
As you have the silence and you have the sound slowly coming back in as the flashbulbs are kind of going off in the background and everybody rushes into the car.
I'm not even ashamed to say it, but that final stretch, especially when the flashback moments hit, it kind of brings a tear to my eye. It's just that powerful. Like you wouldn't expect that from a film like that.
Yeah. I think it's an expert move. There's so many things I want to talk about, but I'll get on first. I think it's an expert move to have, Racer X, Matthew. Oh, shoot, I know that guy's name. I love Lost, and I just right now blank on his last name. Matthew Vox. Okay, yeah. So I came into this movie as a 14-year-old watching Lost for the first time in that period of my life, which was like life-changing basically for me because I'd never seen anything like that before. So I already come in like Matthew Fox being basically the only actor that I love. But anyways, I think they do Racer X very well because it becomes pretty apparent, in the film, in the first part of the film, like, oh, this dude is his brother, isn't it? Like it's not super hidden, but they address it about halfway in. They do not waste time in like the main character. Most importantly, the main characters know it. Like they catch on as quickly as you do, or Speed does. Which how insane is this? This guy's name is Speed. Like that's his actual name. Just the balls to call a character Speed Racer is incredible.
My very first thought when I heard that the character's actual name was Speed Racer was I was like, I want a crossover movie set in like like the future, like a cyberpunk, like just a few years after this movie,
Yeah.
and I want it Speed Racer versus Baby Driver, and
Yes.
and so Speed has to catch Baby Driver, who's
Yeah.
getting away with some like amazing like heist
Yeah.
thing that he's heisted with his crew.
Yeah.
And so Speed Racer is on the track going and doing cool tricks. But
Yeah.
Baby Driver is like, but unfortunately, Baby Driver controls the soundtrack. So
Okay.
it's so I think that'd be an
Yeah.
awesome crossover
So,
movie.
I
Yeah.
watched a little bit of a old episode of Speed Racer. You know how they introduce Racer X? They say,
How?
meanwhile, Racer X, who is Speed's brother, Rex Racer, who run away from home 15 years ago, is doing this.
Oh, that's so funny.
Very subtle.
Yeah, very subtle. So I really do like how they do Racer X, especially in the back half of the film, in that Speed never learns that he is his brother.
Yeah,
Like, obviously that was never, you were probably as the audience never fully convinced even after the reveal that it's not his brother, but the important part is Speed is, and he never finds out. And you kind of have this very, kind of poignant moment at the end with Matthew, when Inspector Detector asks, like, hey, do you want to go down with the family? And he says, like,
you kind of see that pain in
no,
his
I really
face.
shouldn't. Yeah, it's I think you have a lot of earned stuff in this film, and I think that's one of them where it's like, life isn't all just still completely rosy, everything completely works out. He has to go on with his life as being this, his decision still has that weight. So that I think one of my all-time favorite moments in film is the the duology between the first scene where Rex leaves home and and Pa says, you walk out of that door, you can't come back. And then you have this second scene where Speed is about to leave home and he says, like, I made a mistake, 15 years ago, however long it was, and I'm not going to do that again. You are always welcome in this house. And God, that if that doesn't just hit me like a truck every single time.
So good. And this movie is just a whole ride, thrill ride.
It's a whole
exciting.
ride.
It's awesome.
The chief. I want to talk about the chief editing gimmick that they use, where the faces wipe across the screen and they wiped it, and I just love it. It's cheesy as hell, but it's so endearing and it works so much.
In its own world.
It is. The movie, that's a perfect way of describing it. The whole film is completely submerged in its own world, and it's all backed by a perfect cast for every role. Tim Curry is or that is Tim Curry, right? Or am I just an absolute moron?
No,
it's not. It's not Tim Curry.
It
What
do you mean?
It's somebody that I get mixed up with Tim Curry. If it's not Tim Curry,
you mean the guy from Royalton Racing?
Royalton, yeah.
Roger Allen. Yeah,
what's
Roger
his name?
Allen.
Roger Allen. Okay, yeah. Sorry, not Tim Curry. It's like it's like I think it subconsciously in my head, but then when I say it out loud, I'm like, hold on, no, that's not Tim Curry. He's fantastic as Royalton. Just completely chewing the scenery, but in like the best way. This perfect blend of like smarminess.
The dude who plays Spriddle Racer
is
really good. The monkey, he's a great actor too.
It's a movie with a like sentient monkey called Chim Chim, where they, fling poop at people. Like it just doesn't.
That was. Every moment in this movie, I was like, "Oh, holy shit, yeah!" And then the monkey flings some shit at the guy,
yeah,
and I had to stop and be like, "Is this all right?" Like
that's real.
the one. That's the one scene in the movie that made me be like, "Do I want to see that?" And the answer was ultimately not no, but I'm also not sure if it was yes.
John Goodman.
And when's
the only actor I know in this film? Emily
who
Hirsch,
was
John Goodman.
Yeah, John Goodman. Yeah,
he's really good in it. Yeah, and Emily Hirsch, I knew him from Speed Racer, and then he reappeared in like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's in that too.
Oh, is he? I know he was in Hail Caesar, that Coen Brothers film that I ultimately did not like at all. But
wait, he wasn't.
You liked Hail Caesar?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'm just an absolute moron again.
Are you?
I'm pretty sure he was in Hail Caesar. I am 100% confusing him with Alden Ehrenreich. That's
Alden Ehrenreich
exactly
is
what
him.
I'm doing.
Solo Star Story.
Alden Ehrenreich. Okay, yeah. Okay, because I couldn't... Okay, well, that makes sense, because I knew he wasn't the guy in Solo. I knew that for a fact. So, but that's where my wires were getting crossed, because I kind of confused him with Alden Ehrenreich already. And,
Do you think
so
Emily
anyways...
Hirsch could pull off an Alden Ehrenreich doing a Harrison Ford?
Yeah. He wasn't Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Interesting. But yeah, when Spritle flips off Royalton, which isn't maybe it's a fourth of the way into the film, and so it just kind of happens, and I don't know. I love that little moment where he's just like, dude, frick you. Nobody can say anything about me saying frick. I love every aspect of this film. Okay, the best. Can we talk about the best line in cinematic history? Ninja, more like
a
Nanja.
Terrible pass for Ninja these days.
Okay.
Oh God, it's so awful, and I love it.
Counterpoint: the best fucking line in this movie is when Racer X, who's totally not Speed's brother, don't know what you're talking about, is giving Speed this pep talk, and he looks at Speed and he's like, "You don't do this because you want to drive. You do this because you're driven." I'm like, "Holy shit! Holy shit! That's so cool! That's so fucking
so good."
Here's the whole line. It doesn't matter if racing never changes. What matters is if we let racing change us. Everyone has to find a reason to do this. You don't climb into a T180 to be a driver. You do it because you're driven. It's like
chills every time. Chills. Oh, it's so good. And the designs in this film are inspired. The way the cars look, the way the tracks are designed. Yeah, a lot of the background is during like regular scenes in their neighborhood is
like when he gets picked up
weird,
from
cheesy green screen. Yeah, it's awful, but it's also kind of the point. It's like a Tim Burton like deal, like a Edward Scissorhands type thing, where it's fake, but it's supposed to look really
Imagine
fake.
a Tim Burton Speed Racer film.
Tim Burton Speed Racer. God, that's horrifying.
Danny Elfman working on the soundtrack, and he does the same shit that he does with every other movie since 1995.
Yeah.
I like Danny Elfman, but I mean,
it's and just like the end of the Grand Prix is just an incredible moment. So is the beginning, where you have like Ben Burns is one of the doing the announcement stuff, and they're like, oh, wait, what's going on down there? And then there's a hush over the track. The energy has clearly changed with the addition of Speed Racer.
I like the opening race kind of being a race into the movie, because during that race you see what Speed's background is, you see what kind of family he comes from, and then you learn what happened to his brother, and then you see at the end that he's actually racing his brother, his time lapse.
Mm-hmm.
That's
in that little moment at the end of the race where he lets off the gas because he doesn't want to beat his brother's record is so great. But the movie dumps you in. It throws you into this film, and it throws so much information at you during this first race, but it does it really, really well, I think, because it's all just bonkers. And you as the audience member have to make a decision at the end. You are on board with this or you are not.
Yeah.
And if you are on board with this, like you're gonna get your payout. You're gonna get your payout tenfold from it. Where's my Trixie GF? Is my only question. Where's my Trixie GF?
Yeah, that's a question we cannot answer.
Trixie is fucking awesome. I love the scene where she's in the car briefly, where she's like driving around and stuff like that.
Yeah,
they don't really establish she's good at driving until she's in the car, but
I like the soundtrack.
I'm struggling.
I love that stupid moment where Togo-Khan is dressed up like his sister, and the gangster really cool. Comes out of the cockpit, and he just lifts his head up like, oh, it's so fun.
I'm struggling to think of something that I dislike about the movie. I think my friend thinks my friend said, "Oh, the colors in this movie are so great. Maybe sometimes a little bit too colorful." Mm-hmm. Like, and on the one hand, I see his point, but on the other hand, I think it's a slippery slope where he was basically like, okay, look, I don't think I hate the Marvel filter, the Marvel fucking everything is
Yeah.
suddenly muted and stuff. And then
Yeah.
he said, however, if it had one brief pass of that and then they pulled out, he wouldn't complain. Which I see his point, but it's also a slippery slope. It's why Marvel also had a slippery slope. It
Yeah.
started off as one pass, and then it was two passes, and then suddenly the final battle of Endgame is
Wait,
brown.
hold on for a second.
Yeah.
Hold on for a second. You guys can go. Good to you talking. I gotta go.
Okay.
And so that's a point that I see, at least, though it didn't factor in too much for me. I thought Racer X, I thought he was really cool. I
Yeah.
think it was.
I
I
love
thought it
his
was.
design of his suit, the design
Oh,
of
I
his
hated
car,
that. I
Matthew
hated that.
Fox. You hated
It's.
it? Oh,
I thought it was
dude.
so dumb the way that. Okay, so this isn't exclusive to Racer X. In fact, I don't like this about the new Batman design either. But when you have a cowl that
Mhm,
like covers your nose and then
mhm,
does like that, I
mhm.
think that looks really bad. I think if
Really?
you have I think it should cover like that. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I think that's a lot better of a look.
yeah.
For people who are just listening, when it exposes some of your neck and doesn't like cover like the bottom half of your chin. I think that sometimes looks really bad
Mm,
in a superhero outfit and in a racer
yeah.
outfit. I mean, it's a racer outfit, so it's not like it was a huge factor.
Yeah.
But I didn't love that as compared to
Oh,
Speed's
I
design, which
loved
was
it. Yeah.
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Speed's design so good. He reminded
Yeah.
me of this mix of Popeye and uh yeah, well, like Popeye and Marty McFly or something like that.
Yeah. There's something I just will never love more than the idea of a character named Speed Racer who is an absolute moron. The only thing he can do is drive a car, like mainly when he's a kid. And he's just dumb as hell. He's not, completely dumb as an adult, but still, like the only thing he knows how to do is drive a car. But you built this universe where driving a car is that important. And I think they did it effectively in a way of like, I think they did it in a way that is believable. Maybe not if you start really, really thinking about it, but where it affects industry because racing is such on a big scale as it is. Like, the technology that's put in these cars is eventually can be technology that can be applied to the rest of life. And they can use that as a catalyst to kind of get it into the
I think
markets.
like
Royalton is a massive company with many different divisions, and kind of the racing is just one important part of that. It's like Formula One racing on a giga scale.
like
Um,
I imagine that the army would be like very bad and would be outgunned by all the
yeah.
racers.
Speed Racer just like decimates an army in like 5 minutes. Oh god, one of my favorite scenes is in the Casa Cristo in the opening where the bad guys are giving these other teams money or whatever to get them on their sides, and it's just the most ridiculous goofy
Some of
stuff,
them give
these
them
like
like animal
80s
pelts.
girls, these soldiers, Vikings just getting animal pelts. I will say that probably my favorite shot in the whole film, which is a difficult thing for me to say, is in the Casa Cristo, the Viking guy lets the chain balls out behind his car, right? And then he does the jump flip. So his car, like the chain balls are here, so he's gonna like jump and flip over and like try to whack the chains or whatever. But when he gets upside down, Speed Racer jumps his car up just a little bit and punches the dude right in the face. And that's just so much fun. I just adore that.
Yeah. Uh, I once discussed this film with another group. It's actually the first film I watched for another film group. I left because
Mm.
everyone had shit takes. But um, yeah, they didn't like this film, and someone says like, speed kills people at the end. But it's heavily implied that when a car crashes,
Based,
that everyone
based.
like forms up into these balls and
Yeah,
just
they get the
Yeah,
little
no, no,
bubble
they
things,
don't
like the
die. They've
fly.
established that they form into bubbles.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
because Rex died because, like, they make a comment about Rex died because his like bubble system, or if he had actually died, the thing was that his like safety thing was cut, so his bubble didn't get popped. So it'd be a big deal in this universe for somebody to actually die in one of these car wrecks. Like, it'd be a whole thing
Yeah,
because they're supposed to,
And
have the safety system.
and even if that did happen, Speed would just be based in Redfield.
Yeah.
Just at
That's
the end
it.
where he
He'd just be based
throws
on
these
it.
fucking cars into the
Based
wall.
in Wachowski Pilled.
Yeah.
No, you can say Red Pilled because the Wachowski sisters made this.
It is based in Red Pill. There's just so much character and life to this universe because so much thought and work was put into people that are seen on screen for 2 seconds. Like the Gray Ghost and the Sonic, whatever his name is. You know, these they
It's
look
kind
like
of how I
people with
felt.
stories.
It's
And
kind of,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. Oh,
No,
it's
you're
just
good.
it's kind of how I felt. Well, and not everyone agrees with me on this, but this is how I felt when I was watching Aquaman as well, because it had that feeling of it does
Yeah.
not care about
Yeah.
being some kind of high end film. It
Yeah.
cares about being stylish,
Yeah.
fun, visually interesting.
Yeah.
And then like every time you see characters or creatures that are only in it for a moment, it cares about making those be like iconic, interesting
Yeah.
moments, even if they're
Yeah.
not on for long.
Yeah.
Aquaman and Speed Racer, I feel like have a lot of similarities in
Yeah.
that regard.
I agree, actually. I've never thought about it, but that's the same way I feel about Aquaman. So I agree.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same.
Aquaman is
It's the
my
same thing.
second favorite DCEU movie, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like Speed Racer for the same reason.
You know, it's the same thing you feel when you're watching Star Wars Episode 9 and you look at the Knights of Ren. It's like, wow, these
God,
guys are all so cool and distinct from each other.
they're
I
so
bet they have.
distinct, they're so creative, and they're so fun. Like, who can forget Trugden? Like,
Fucking freaking Trunken.
who?
Yeah,
And
you have to
let's
be
not
really stupid if you forget Trugden.
We're
and
never
guys,
going to have an episode of this podcast where we don't talk about the Knights of Ren.
We had Lord of the Rings we talked about
I
constantly. Now it's the Knights of Ren. But before that,
one day I'll
Trugden.
cave and buy a figure of the Knights of Ren, but
I'm
not
surprised
today.
you
Not
haven't done
today.
it before.
They only have a figure of one of the Knights of Ren, and it's Vickrul, who is the one
God,
who is
Vickrul, you know?
well,
Who cares about
Vickrul's
Vickrul?
Asshole.
well, you'll know, yeah. Well, you'll remember Vickrul because he's the dark and brooding one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the dark and
Noted.
brooding one. You know, the dark and brooding one. There's only one of
As
those.
opposed to the one most likely to make his victims beg for mercy,
Mhm, mhm,
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
which is an actual.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Okay, what is, if you guys can pick it out, what is your favorite car from this film? Because this is something that has defined my life for the last 13 years, are the cars
It's a
of this
hard
movie.
pick between the Mach 5 or the Mach 6.
Mm, mm.
Or maybe even Racer X's
Wrong.
car.
You're the wrong. I'm the wrong person to ask. I just looked at all the cars and I'm like, oh, it's car.
Car?
See,
Oh,
I had
I
all
like the
the
Trixie
Hot Wheels
Copter.
of these cars. So yeah, the Trixie Copter. So I have a lot of these designs of these cars, even the ones you barely see in the film, are like burned into my brain. That's why one of my like top cars is the Gray Ghost, which you wouldn't really be able to pick out too much from watching the film. But I like held this car in my hand for so long, so I'm like, I love the Gray Ghost car. But it's definitely the Mach 6. Like, talk about a payoff of a like we're it's the last act. We're giving you like the supercharged car. This is a big deal. And the Mach 6 is just a masterclass in that kind of design, in my opinion, because it's so in line with the other models of, you know, the Mach 4, the Mach 5, but it's so cool looking. It's so cool looking. Yeah.
Oh yeah, found the
I also
Ghost.
love Snake Oiler is the cheesy, like, crappy villain. It's just like, all right, I love how much they double down on gimmicks in this universe. It's like, okay, my name's Snake Oiler, which I don't put it past this universe to that be his actual legal name. I throw snakes at people. That's my thing. I'm gonna here's an oil slick behind my car,
Katana from
and I'll
the
throw a
Suicide
snake
Squad
at
would
you.
fit
And those
into
are my
this film.
things. What'd you say?
Katana from Suicide Squad would fit into this universe.
Yes, they're in the
She's
same
Katana.
universe.
She's got my back.
Ugh.
I would fight not being killed by a sword, for its sword crushed the souls of its victims.
The only thing I'm surprised about, maybe even disappointed about, is that Cannonball Taylor didn't have an actual pirate ship cannon lift out of his car to fire cannonballs at people.
The only other thing I can think of that maybe bothers me a little bit, and it's not a huge deal, but for me, and I also kind of like it because I think it's kind of like ballsy in a fun way, is when Racer X is like you're like, oh, it's his brother, it's his brother, it's his brother,
Yeah.
it's his brother, and then Racer X takes off his helmet, and they're like, you're not my brother. And I'm like, he's not. What? And I was like, then who the fuck is he? And now I'm like, that's on my mind. And then he shows up again, and they're like, no, psych, it's actually his brother. I'm like, oh, all right. I'm like, how many times did you bait us with that? Like, it was
Yeah.
some weird double
Yeah.
reverse reach
Yeah.
around bait, and
Yeah.
it's dumb. I mean, I
Yeah,
respect it,
it's
but it's still
dumb,
dumb.
but that's kind of why it's not kind of why it is why I love it. I love how it revels in that, just how dumb it is, and I love the scene at the end where you find out you kind of see his backstory, the flashbacks and stuff. But in
I
general,
honestly
this
don't
movie
think I needed that. I could have
really,
just gotten that
oh,
in.
definitely, it's completely unnecessary. I love it anyways.
I think it was
I
needed for a
love
general
how much,
audience.
yeah. I love how much heart and that's true. I love how much heart is in this movie, like in general. Like they feel like a real family. John Goodman and Susan Sarandon and are just doing fantastic jobs. It's like the parents that like everybody kind of gets their like even Sparky. Like everybody gets their little like emotional like here is my motivation, here's who I am as a character kind of moment, or
Wait,
a little payoff or something.
hang
What?
on. This movie got negative reviews?
Yeah, it's got like a 40 something on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a tragedy.
It released as the same year as The Dark Knight, so maybe people were like expecting a serious movie.
That's
I don't know.
that's why this movie has kind of such a cult following behind it, is because it was trashed when it came out.
It made
But as people like grew older and returned to this movie, they're like, oh, you know what? This is actually pretty
it
good.
didn't even break
Like
100 million at the box office. I think it
Yeah.
broke like 94 million.
if this movie came out in this year, I think it would do fantastic.
No,
Because people are a little more in an age of like Hobbs and Shaw and people just accepting Fast and Furious at this point. I think it would do a lot better. I think people are a lot more
I
receptive
think
to
a lot of people
stuff like that.
would be more shocked by its visuals. People would
You think so?
quickly to
Well,
to like blame it on like
Well, the visuals would probably be updated if it was released.
yeah, it'd be a little better.
Also, I think that reminds me, there is one other thing that bugged me a little. I think it was weird that they ended the movie on a shot of the rich guy being arrested.
Yeah,
Like,
I noticed
no,
that the other
I'm like,
night. Yeah, it's like, why
I
is
don't
that
know,
the last thing? Yeah, no, I agree with you there.
couldn't it be the family? That feels like it's a weird final note to end on.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, it kind of is.
it would be like if it would be like the Rise of Skywalker if it ended on and the Knights of Ren. Well, you won't be seeing them again.
The Knights of Ren are safely in galactic jail for the rest of
And
their
they were
lives.
and they were good
They were
friends.
good
This film was
friends.
dedicated to the brave POG fighters of Afghanistan.
Did I ever tell you about the Speed Racer movie? It was commercially panned back in 2008.
If there is not an edit of this, there has to be of just a shot of the Knights of Ren with that. This film is dedicated to the brave Mujahideen fighters. There needs to be one of those if that doesn't exist already.
I made a meme that that was just like it was just a shot of the Knights of Ren and just said, "Yeah, we useless. Keep scrolling." And
It's really good.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So I just I just love this film. Kind of the end of it. The Speed Racer theme, it's 2008. So here's a remix of a classic song with some kind of like rap and hip hop in it. But I don't care. I love it. It gets me hype as hell every single time.
Driving through the whole credits.
Oh, dude, you gotta love Chim Chim. Like, you just gotta love Chim Chim. That little, like, anime fight they have, or when they're dressed in the lab coat and he's on top. Ugh.
Every time that that Chim Chim came on, like,
Yeah.
my friend and I would be talking and we'd be having like a serious conversation and we'd be like, yeah, I just don't know if I think the government is monkey. That would be like the whole like for the next 2 minutes.
Yeah. And just to bring up another emotional moment that I love, when you have the flashback of when Rex leaves and Speed's telling him not to go, and when Speed is standing there trying to leave, and Sparky's or Spritl's there saying don't go, and you like the audio kind of dubs over where he's hearing himself and he's seeing it, and he just comes to that realization of like, oh, you'll understand when it's your turn. Is just, I think it's really powerful. I think this movie does these payoffs really, really well, and this duology of the past and the present. And
You think
yeah, I love this movie.
You think Spritle will be a racer?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know what Sprite's going to be doing with his life. I don't know what he's got ahead of him.
I think he's got to. I think he's gonna follow his father, make cars.
I think he's just gonna become a. Yeah, you know what? Actually, that's it. That makes sense a lot. Actually, he kind of becomes a mechanic or car maker, whatever they call him in this universe.
Or he just narrates the races with his monkey.
He just becomes a monkey. He's a. Oh, that actually. Okay, I'm trying to make a joke, a bad joke, but that I'm coming back to. Yeah, them as like a Spritle and Chim Chim as announcers. I would pay to watch that. I'd pay to watch an entire movie of them just being race announcers.
Oh, speaking of the announcers, I liked the one announcer who used to be this racer and it was implied
Burns.
that Burns, and it was implied that stated that he was part of a rigged game, and then Speed was like, "Hey, did you know you were gonna win?" And he just says, "It's funny. The guy who I beat, everyone thought we were enemies. It's funny."
Yeah.
And then he walked away. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And it doesn't. I mean, it's one of the things where it's like it's one of the. I wouldn't say subtle things about this movie because I don't think anything about this movie is subtle.
Yes,
but
nothing
it
subtle.
gives you
But
it gives you something to think
it's
on
smart.
rather than actually like just taking.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't. It's not subtle, but it's also it is. It is and it isn't. Like it's not as it. And I'm trying to think of the right way to describe it. So I think we're on the same page, but it's like it kind of does it. It's not. It doesn't think the audience is stupid for the most part. It gives you a little room to play around.
Yeah, it's
in your
like
head.
yeah.
It doesn't feel the need.
feel like you need.
It does
doesn't
do the
hold your hand.
flashback scene at the end with Racer X, but otherwise, it doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't feel the need to spell out every little beat for you.
I mean, it does end up doing that half the time.
It
But
does
it's also
sometimes.
I guess it's like I'm gonna spell this all out to you, but we don't need to. We just want
Yeah,
to. Because
yeah,
we're
yeah.
excited about this movie.
Like in the end scene, or in the scene I was just talking about. I mean, with when Speed is leaving home and you have the scene with Spritle and they're dubbing the audio over it a little bit of when Rex left home. It's like they're not doing that for the audience to understand what they're doing. They don't need to do that. It's kind of for the film. Just because Speed is also hearing himself. And it's that cycle of everything coming back. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a car tire.
It's like some sort of circle. I don't know. I don't know where to. I don't know anything other than that.
Great metaphor, Taylor.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and that's why this movie was called "The Bus That Couldn't Slow Down."
I don't know why. I think it's just because I saw this a few days ago. But the only thing I can think of when Speed is a kid and he's driving his little car and he sees Trixie, and so he's not looking at the road. So then he crashes through the bushes. What that makes me think of is that one. I think it's a British commercial where the car runs off the road and
kills the children.
It just kills all these groups. So I just kind of think of that being edited together, Speed running through the bushes, and then you have it just wiping out this group of kids.
Oh, you maniac! You absolute maniac!
Classic.
All right, do we have we talked about the soundtrack already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that we did actually. It was a great soundtrack.
Briefly.
Michael Cicciano, great composer.
Okay. Yeah. I think it does what it needs to do. It goes with the film really well.
I like the opening, like the little bit when the kaleidoscope logos come. I like that.
Yeah.
And especially during the end, with the final stretch. I think there it hits really hard.
Yeah.
And it really helps that emotion.
Yeah.
and it's
There's
really
a lot of moments in this film that they want you to care about. They want you to feel like are really big moments, and I think the music is where it needs to be for that. It helps that a lot.
yeah.
This movie got me so fucking excited. I haven't felt
Yeah.
this excited watching a movie since Premiere.
Yeah,
And Premiere was fucking awesome. Premiere is
Yeah.
one of my favorite like animated movies ever. And so to compare that to this and say like same level is pretty fucking high
I think
praise.
it's on like Back to the Future will always remain my favorite film. As like this like the Speed Racer is yours, and
yeah,
Back to the Future is my Speed Racer, like.
yeah.
But like I think
Yeah.
the excitement of this film kind of matches Back to the Future.
hmm
Back to
Yeah.
the Future,
But the,
Speed Racer, The Rise of Skywalker,
But then-
all three equally good movies that we all love.
but
Yep.
then
Yeah,
again,
that's it.
like I don't think it would come as close as Back to the Future. It's a film
Yeah.
that I really like, but I
Yeah.
don't think
It's
is
like-
deserving of a masterpiece
Yeah.
title to me. But I
Yeah.
cannot
It's
name
like-
any bad
do-
movies.
Yeah. It's
What's
like, do I
mine?
think that Speed Racer is as good of a film as like Rear Window? No, of course not. But I love it. It potentially more than Rear Window. Like I just
My-
have that connection to it.
My equivalent of that is probably
Black Panther, of course.
Labyrinth. Jim Henson's
Labyrinth. Okay.
Labyrinth, yeah.
It's
Probably.
not Rise of Skywalker?
But that's close. That's close. But that's more in a but like Rise of Skywalker is more. I'd put that in the Criterion collection. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm not a guy that cares about Criterion even a little bit, but
Really?
I would still feel it
dare you
being
be this
sacrilege, like because I think part of me would think it would be funny to make a fake Criterion cover of Rise of Skywalker, and the other part of me is like that's just an insult to movies, just in
Yeah, I want
general.
to do that now.
So
I will do that.
like, probably one
Ruben,
of
for
the
your
best
birthday, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna burn you and create a custom Criterion case for Rise of Skywalker and mail that to you.
God.
Sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. Fucking awesome.
But yeah, like Lord of the Rings, one of the greatest films ever made to me. But that doesn't even match Back to the Future, one of my favorites, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, it's up there. It's like second place, close second.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I feel the
Something
same way about like
Back
Scott Pilgrim versus the World and Baby Driver. It's like, am I trying to say that these are the best made films ever? No, of course not. But they, to me, are my favorite movies to watch. Like I think they're very good films, and I will love watching them.
And they're easy to
I'm
watch.
not gonna pop Zodiac or Gone Girl in every like on a Tuesday afternoon when I want something to watch. Like I love those films, but those are heavy to sit down, pay attention movies. And I was trying to come up with other films as an example of that, but everyone that popped into my mind was a Fincher film. I was like, oh, Seven, oh, Fight Club. It's like, God, what are other movies that are good that are not?
I'm feeling very
like-
lighthearted today. I really want to watch a movie that is heaven. Put some Taxi Driver.
Yeah, Taxi Driver. Yeah, like a Scorsese film or something. Something that's heavier. It's like I'm not gonna want to watch that
to
all
be
the
honest,
time.
Goodfellas and The Wolf of Wall Street are like one of those films I could pop on easily.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
they are.
I haven't seen either.
Goodfellas is very great. Wolf
yeah.
of Wall Street is insane.
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street is very good. I wouldn't mind doing a show on that, podcast episode on that.
Yeah. I'll have to watch it eventually. So.
I gotta introduce
Yeah.
Taylor to Kino, but alas,
Yeah.
I'm literally the person who scheduled in a Space Jam episode.
You scheduled in a Hobbit episode. That's like 9 hours of my life devoted to the Hobbit trilogy.
Yeah, maybe we should hold.
No, you're
In
gonna
fact,
watch The
maybe we
Hobbit
move
and
up the
stuff
Space
it
Jam
up.
episode.
Well, like I put the Space Jam on that specific date because then we
Yeah,
have time
for
to catch
Space
up with
Jam 2.
Space Jam 2, yeah.
I'm excited to watch Space Jam. I'm excited to watch Space Jam 2, to be completely honest. I'm expecting very
Dude,
fun
have you
movies from both of
seen-
those.
Have you seen the notorious PIG clip that they released yesterday? It is awful. It
Nope,
is
I
awful.
have not seen that. It sounds terrible.
It is very painful. I think The Simpsons a few years ago did a parody on like rapping in kids' films and like
Mhm.
how it just doesn't fit in. And Space Jam, like
Mhm.
20 years later, Space Jam
Just
does
did it unironically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, Max, I
The-
want to talk
the-
about Looney Tunes back in action. which is the
It's
best.
very. That is a great fucking movie. It's very tragic in particular because I just saw this amazing clip from Porky Pig's voice actor explaining the logic behind making Porky Pig's voice, and he goes really into the phonetics of it, and he spends a long time discussing it, and then he lays it out, and then suddenly talks like Porky Pig at the fastest speed you can imagine, and then he's like, and nobody can do that, and that's why I have job security. And then he gets recast in this movie. He's not Porky Pig in this one, and that's very upsetting.
That's weird.
And
this is terrible, Ruben. I hate this. I'm watching this in the background right now, and I hate this. I'm not gonna watch the whole thing. Yeah, that's awful.
We should just go to the end of the episode. Score
Ratings?
Speed Racer.
Yep.
Let me start. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Like I said, it's not a masterpiece, but I had a very fun time. I cannot name a single bad thing, but still, it's an 8 out of 10 for some reason.
This movie is a 10 out of 10. Or you go ahead. You go first, Nicholas.
Well, I mean, we know what you're gonna give it.
You know what I think of it. You go first.
I'm gonna give it a 9 because I have zero problems with it. It doesn't, I just saw it, so I'd have to sit on it a little bit more. But I had a fantastic time, and I can't really think of anything wrong with it. Don't know if it's my favorite yet, but I do want to fuck Racer X, so that's a 9.
Yeah, me, but with Trixie. This movie is
Trixie. I want to fuck Racer
I don't. This movie is a 10 out of 10 for me. It is not. That is not an objective score by any measure, but subjectively, this is like the peak of what I've talked for an hour about how this is like my favorite film. So yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. I have virtually no problems with it. I never get tired of watching it, and I love every second of it. So,
all right. I guess that's it. Well, next week we're going to talk about the Hobbit Trilogy. So, Unexpected Journey.
I have to watch all three of these movies. Do we have to watch the extended editions?
It doesn't really matter, actually.
Okay, great.
I can just be like, okay, yeah, so this happens in the extended edition, because I'll most likely watch the extended edition. I'll most likely stream them soon. So,
yeah.
Back to back, 9 hours. I'm not looking forward to it.
No, it sounds horrible.
It is. I've done it before. Absolutely terrible. But yeah.
Awesome.
Hobbit next week. Let
Great.
me also go into detail
Can't
about
wait.
the other episodes.
Yes, please.
So after that, Monday, July 19th, we'll be releasing the Black Widow episode. And then on July 27th, we'll be releasing Space Jam, Looney Tunes Back in Action, and Space Jam 2.
I'm really excited for that episode. I'm really excited. Like I said, I'm excited to see how fun Space Jam and Space Jam 2 end up being. Because I will be walking in that episode very disappointed if I don't think both of those movies are very fun. But Looney Tunes Back in Action is kind of the same way. I know there's no doubt. People love that film. It's very fun. So I'm kind of really expecting a lot of fun from all three of these films. So just wait and see how well this ages and how excited I walk into that episode. You're not excited for Black Widow.
Look, here's the thing. I've been rewatching every single MCU movie. Just because I've never rewatched half of them. And I will say, a lot of them aged better than I was expecting. But the ones that didn't age well, I really don't think aged well. And the further and further we got into Phase 3, the more and more I was seeing the same generic kind of Marvel movie formula. And I'm looking at Black Widow and I'm thinking to myself, there is nothing about this that screams this will be different in any way. So I'm not excited for that. Also because I like Taskmaster and I know he's not a factor in this movie. He's not a big role.
Well, he's the main villain.
Yeah, I know, but I've seen some reviews and they're like, yeah,
really?
He's not really a character. Yeah,
well, that doesn't make any sense.
There's got to be stupid twist attached to it.
Okay, I'm really mad about that. I love Taskmaster, and I didn't like his. I don't like his costume.
The costume I can go with.
It's okay.
That,
It's an MCU costume is kind of my problem. It's like it's fine, it works, but it's like you just took Taskmaster's cool outfit and made it MCU. I'm expecting is an okay film. I'm expecting an okay, enjoyable film. I would like it to be.
Third Mass.
Yeah, I would like it to rank above like Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange, which are two of the films I put in the peak 5 out of 10 boring generic Marvel formula movie. I am hoping this hits somewhere in the vibe, not quality probably, but in the vibe of Winter Soldier is what I would like out of this film.
Did you guys read that review? It's like Black Widow. What was it?
More like stupid. That's the review.
A Black Widow puts ban into place. I don't know if you read that review.
Yeah. I saw that.
It's worded differently, but it's such a stupid review.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's written by a man.
Of course
he
it is.
He chose team. He switched the team. He does damage on our team. Gets no pussy, but gets paid.
Well, Scarlett Johansson has all the exaggerated swagger of an Asian woman, so it makes sense. Sense that she'd be able to put men in that place.
That's a good joke.
I can't believe, speaking about Scarlett Johansson, that I still own a copy of the live-action Ghost in the Shell.
Is that
the live-action Ghost in the Shell? No, okay. You want to talk about that? I don't know the dimensions on this. It is the size. It is definitely as tall as this wall, and it is longer than that wall. A vinyl Ghost in the Shell, you can't even call it a poster at that point, but it's like a wall covering. My friend worked in a movie theater at the time, and basically was just like, "Hey, do you want this?" And I, as a pack rat and a hoarder, said, "Yeah, I'll take it. It's an okay movie." I've never had anywhere to put it. It's obscenely large. There's no room anywhere for it.
Put it up for
auction. I still have it.
Kinoplex auction. Put it up.
Yeah, nice. Kinoplex auction. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's it.
So, that's it.
Yeah.
Great.
So everyone place your bids for the Scarlett Johansson poster, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
See you.